Hello, in this video we are going to write this function findModSum4, which was a question I asked my students to do in class the other day. The method takes a list of doubles and returns the sum of the digits. So this is actually a little bit of a trickier one, and it highlights a lot of really powerful programming techniques. I think I'm going to take an opportunity here to talk about why I like the idea of building tools so much as a beginning programmer. It's because it allows you to test or practice skills in isolation. I really love building those larger projects with students that look really neat, do a lot of stuff, but sometimes we end up cutting and pasting code and not understanding those fundamental ideas. So that's why I really like making these smaller programs, because they allow you to test and learn these skills. Okay, so this function is going to take a list of doubles. In Python, you'll hear them referred to as floats. We could use them interchangeably, even though there's a difference from a memory perspective. But essentially, that means they're decimal values, and it's going to return an int. So if I have 1.2, 3.14, and 7.89, we're adding 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1 plus 4 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9. And so how do I do this? So I'm going to make a definition called findModSum. Oh, that should be findModSum4, shouldn't it? findModSum4. And we're going to take some list called data. And this is actually going to require a nested loop. The first loop will loop through the elements of data. So I'm going to make a variable called up here quickly and say sum equals 0. And I'm going to say for I in range 0, length of data 1. Again, this is your standard loop for looking at every element in a list or a string. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a variable called a, and a is going to be data at I, because I'm going to do something with this now. I'm going to manipulate this and then loop through the string. So I want to get rid of the decimal in every case. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say a is equal to str a. And what this does is this casts a to a string. And I know this will work perfectly fine because I can cast a double to a string easily enough. And now what I'm going to do is I want to remove the dot. And I'm going to use this really powerful technique called replace. And I'm going to say a is equal to a dot replace. And I'm going to replace all the periods with an empty string. I call this in class collapsing strings. So by doing this, it takes every period and it replaces it with an empty string, so the string kind of collapses in on itself. So if I had 1.2, that would become 12, 3.14 would become 314, and 7.89 would become 789. And once I've done this, I can now loop through that string, pull out each element as an integer, and then add it. Really just a subtle point here. A lot of students will do this, and then they'll be confused because a won't change. When you actually use a string as an implied object to call a function, it won't actually change the string. So I have to actually take the return value and put it in there. It's a little bit different than lists, and sometimes students will make that mistake. So now what we're going to do is we're going to loop through a. So I'm going to say for j in range, and I can't use I here because I'm already using an I on the outer loop. And we're going to go from 0 to the length of a, 1. So that's, again, my standard loop. And I'm going to say v is equal to a at I. So that's going to pull the character out of the string. And what I want to do now is I'm going to cast that to an integer by doing this. So this casts v to an integer. Because I can't add it if it's a string. I can only add it if it's an integer. So now that I have that, I'm going to say sum is equal to sum plus v. And then my loops. That loop's done, and I return v. Oh, return sum, pardon me. So I save this now. So let's see if I got this on my first go. So let's take this, we're going to copy this, and we're going to say a is equal to, we'll paste that in there. Again, you'll see I'll use these set brackets sometimes because I teach in Java and I teach in Python, and we'll write these functions in both of them. I also teach in JavaScript, but it's the algorithms that we're interested in. Java uses set brackets for arrays. Okay, so now I'm going to print findModSum4, and I'm going to pass it A. I'm sure some of you who are watching this might have noticed a mistake I made. Let's see if I did. I'm doing this rather quickly here. So let's list Python3 findModSum4.py. Oh, look at that, 32. Is that what I wanted? Oh, I had 35. Where did I make my mistake? Is this wrong up here? Let's find out. Did you see it? It took me a minute. I actually paused it. I'm using J. I want to access A at J, not A at I. There we go. Now, part of me is tempted to re-record this, but I want to show you, when I do this quickly and I get excited, I will make silly mistakes like this, and it's a really good skill to go back and trace through it and find it. Anyways, I hope that helped. There's so much in this problem. This is just meant as a quick solution, and I would say I'd really want to make sure you're walking away with this idea of casting here, and this nice little technique to collapse a string. And again, this tool is a little bit more complicated than the other ones we've done because it has a loop inside of a loop, which again is a little bit more complicated. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day.